Hello, good evening. This is Charity Werimo Ngugi-Latz, and I'm talking to you all the way from Germany. And I'm inviting you today to talk about a very sensitive subject. I would invite you to subscribe. If you have not subscribed to any of my channels, then I would love to invite you to do so. And that is www.unmasking-domesticviolence.org. That is my website also. And at this particular today, I really want to talk about children. You see, today, for some reason or other, nearly all the news I've been hearing about are just about children. And I came to discover that not to discover, because I've always known that one of the forms of domestic violence is children as witnesses of domestic violence. Now, what do I mean witnesses? Because it's not necessarily that children in a domestic violent home state are abused physically. It's not always the case. What in most cases happens is that it is the emotional and the psychological abuse that happens to that child through the very act of just listening and witnessing to what is going on in that home. Now, I have a question. In one of the many answers that I get to the question, why doesn't he or she leave? There's always an answer that I do not want to leave my children. Where would my children grow? I don't want my children to grow up without a father. I don't want my children to grow up without a mother. Oh no, that happened to me. I don't believe in single parent families. And and we are talking about a seriously domestic violent home state, where not a week passes by without there being war in that home, where in some cases, let's talk about the female side, but we are agreeing on one thing. We know that domestic violence happens, does not know gender, does not know age, does not know race, but at this particular moment, we are going to stick to domestic violence, where in this case, happening to the mother of the child. We have seen cases, not once, not twice, where women have been stabbed, beaten to death, clobbered to death in front of her children. Beaten, clobbered to death. And normally this beating, by the time a person beats you to the point of killing you, it means they have beaten you over and over and over again. But this particular day, they snapped and killed you. And before a person killed you, they have warned you that they are going to kill you one day. And one of the things about physical abuse, which is a criminal offense in a court of law, is verbal abuse, where somebody threatens with killing or hurting you or throwing you out, that I will throw you out of the window, I'll beat you to a pulp, I will kill you. That is enough for you to go to a police station and have that recorded. And it is these days been taken very seriously when you have reported such cases, because what usually happens is that when that person does murder, this case had been reported before. So these days, the authorities, as they are seeing more and more cases of domestic violence, are learning how to take it more seriously. I know it's not the best, but what is the best? I know it's still very difficult, especially for women, to go and report it. You might sometimes be subjected to a place where you're not being heard, or it's not being taken seriously because they did not hit you, that they slapped you, but they threatened that they are going to kill you, and that you're feeling scared of your life. The alternative, which is the other best alternative, If you are scared to go and report to the police station immediately, is to call the hotlines because you will be guided. You'll be guided so well. But please, the idea of waiting until the last minute that you will subject your children to being seen you've been beaten until your clothes are removed off, your nakedness before your children. These children, when they witness that, it will not stay, things will never be the same for them. This is very, very, very traumatizing. And I am a witness as a child of domestic violence. And there's one particular incident until today, it has never left my mind. When my father came home in an afternoon, found us sitting outside on the garden with my mother, and I was about 2 or 3, but I remember him beating her thoroughly, in broad daylight, outside in the sun. We are just sitting, and he's come from his drinking or whatever. So children don't forget. They don't forget at all. They don't forget. Don't think that what happens because your child is 2 years old or 1 year old, that they are not seeing anything, that you are preventing them. I'm staying around, but I always make sure that that when I'm being beaten, I go to the bedroom and I don't even scream because I don't want my children to know. No way, your children hear everything. Children are very sensitive. In fact, us human beings are very sensitive because we are animals. Just even by looking at a person, you can feel danger. By looking at a person, you can feel love. So, and children are very sensitive. And you can even see the signs of abuse in a family where a child, when the parent comes in, they shiver or they freeze. Mm? There is no more fun. If there was laughter at home, the children will all run away and go into the bedroom or go anywhere, but not sit in that area where the parent has entered in. And then again, verbal abuse. With verbal abuse, what happens? Please, you'll excuse me. I've got the thyroid pains, and it's not a pain. It's an itching, and these are the thyroid glands, and so they get very irritated, and I lose my breath, or I feel the tickling on my throat. So, but this subject has to be talked to. It has to be said because we need to protect our children as neighbors. We need to protect them as grandmothers, as sisters, as neighbors, as friends. We need to. And if you know there's a place where there's a lot of domestic violence happening and that parent is not taking steps to protect their children, it is up to you to call the authorities, even anonymously, and say, please check into that home. There's a lot of abuse going on in there on the children because it is not fair to children. Why am I having this conversation? I'm saying it's not fair. And what I'm going to do is that from tomorrow, I'm going to start a series. And the first topic is going to be about children and young people, teenagers. How can you tell that this child is a victim of domestic violence? How can you tell by looking at children that, and you're not a teacher, you're just a neighbor, you're a sister, you're a friend, that there is something wrong in this home and there's something happening to this child and I need to talk to this child. I need to find a way of having a conversation with this child and finding out what is happening to them. They look dull, they cannot look you in the eye, or some of them suddenly become very aggressive. Their behavior becomes, some can become very rebellious and run away from home. Because that is why some of them go and run away and get married at a very young age. That is why some of them run away from home to do into prostitution. So sometimes when you just keep on saying slay queens, this idea of everybody saying these are slay queens, of some of these girls you see around, they are running away from home because they would rather be anywhere and try and get according to them, they have not matured enough to think. They think that they will get somebody who will take care of them, and so that they will get away from home. They want to get away from home. They hate the home situation. They hate their mother, for example, for not getting them out of this situation. They hate the father because of what he does to them or to the parent. The small children are always there screaming and very scared. And so that house becomes a very chaotic house. That house becomes a very chaotic house. And in most cases, when this family does manage to separate themselves out of that violent situation, whether it is with the father or it is the mother, it will be difficult, yes, but there will be peace. You can lack food, but there is peace. You can lack school fees, but there is peace. But it doesn't make sense to even have school fees and to have food in the house, to have all the televisions and everything in the house, a big house. But that house in the night is a nightmare. There is no point. That is not a home. That is just a high-class prison, a terrorist place, very terrorizing for the children, very scary, and it is not correct. So please, we are going to have the series. This was just an introduction, something I want us to discuss. Please subscribe so that we can discuss these sensitive topics. We can come up with solutions. We can talk about them. We need to talk about them. Let them affect you. Feel yourself moved to do something. Yes. And we come up with solutions. Solutions come from people. Just like problems are started by people, even solutions are solved by people. And it is togetherness always that is better. Do not forget to subscribe. Yes, I've talked about child witness abuse on my website, www.unmaskingdomesticviolence.org. Thank you very much for your time and see you tomorrow.